Welcome everyone to One Mind, Two Physios, and Three Principles. And I'm Ellen Friedman in Western Colorado, and that title just came to me in a lovely conversation that I had with Julie just a few months ago.
Yeah, and I'm Jules McCammon from Northern Ireland.
Yeah, so we're both physical therapists. I'm on the retired side, and we have other occupational and physical therapists in the room, so it'll be nice to have you here. We've both had similar and different chronic health conditions, and obviously have worked with hundreds or thousands of people. The gray hair shows the thousands of people with chronic pain and health issues. What else do you want to say, Jules?
Just that I started probably down a very traditional path of physiotherapy, and then probably about 6 years ago came across myofascial release, which definitely brought the mind and the body together for me in a new sort of way, because traditional physio was much more linear and a sort of very textbook orientated. But I loved discovering sort of more depth of the whole mind body connection. And then came across the three principles probably just over 2 years ago. So that's just brought a whole new aspect to my work now.
Yeah, it was obvious to me that there was a mind-body connection from I think my first day out of PT school, because I had two people with the same diagnoses, the same MRIs, and very different levels of function. And there was something had to be behind all that. So I was kind of curious and interested in that before I had any understanding of the mind-body connection. I had a knowing for sure. And then I had the privilege and opportunity to work with people who had been many years, like sometimes 10 or 20 years post a brain injury. And when you're in the early 80s, you weren't supposed to get better after a certain amount of time. And it was like I was witnessing neuroplasticity before it was actually identified as a thing. And it was like, oh, that's how come all my patients demonstrated change on their own, being motivated by what was interesting to them to get better. Yeah. Julie, I think we had a couple of questions sent in to us early. Do you want to go with?
Yeah, the one that I got was how does the three principles / pain neuroscience fill the gaps of the medical model approach for managing pain and anxiety? So I guess since I've come across the three principles, I can see that there is a big gap. And the traditional sort of medical model approach to managing pain or anxiety is to medicate. And I think that just takes us away from listening to our bodies and understanding that those feelings of pain or anxiety are actually normal. They're, as Dr. Bill calls them, love letters from our body, just to tell us that we've gone off track. So I think the three principles has opened up a whole new realization for me around especially anxious and fearful thinking that can trigger physical symptoms.
Yeah, thank you.
I guess with regards to the pain neuroscience, I've come to learn with the most recent sort of developments in pain neuroscience that there is a neurocircuitry is created in the brain whenever we have an injury, but that can continue after the injury has healed. All injuries do heal, but sometimes our fearful, anxious thoughts can trigger that neurocircuitry again and reproduce our pain, even when there's no structural or physical cause. And it's like a default pathway that's activated by stress. So memory or fear of the pain keeps that neurocircuitry alive. And it basically becomes reinforced over time by our fearful thinking. Like, for example, I tore a disc in my back about 3-4 years ago now, and I was in excruciating pain with a really bad sciatica, and it lasted for about 16 weeks. And I knew as a physio that the actual injury that triggered all that had healed, but I was still in that really acute pain. And it's only now looking back that I realized that I was so obsessed with fixing myself. I was thinking, like, if I'm a physio and I can't fix myself, how can I fix my patients? And I was catastrophizing. I was thinking, will I need surgery? Will I ever get back to work? And that definitely kept my pain alive for much longer than it needed to be there. So I guess that's sort of my understanding of the pain neuroscience, a little bit of it anyway.
It reminds me of kind of a story on the other end of the spectrum. My mom had severe scoliosis and severe kyphosis, and like her doctors would look at me and say, how is she like even moving? And and for the last several years of her life, so earlier on in her life, she did a lot of different things to help mediate the pain, and including medication. And towards the end of her life, she just had no complaints of it. She had early dementia. I don't know if that contributed to it, but she just had no pain complaints. And it was kind of, she was regularly doing epidural injections, and she kept on saying she didn't need them. And I thought that was really interesting because the structure hadn't changed. The structures that were causing the pain hadn't changed. And then she did develop another pain a couple of years ago, and kind of nothing was working. And her anxiety level was high to begin with, but it was much higher. And someone suggested, well, I wonder if she had like an anti-anxiety medication during the day, how that would, instead of just at night for sleep, how that would impact her. And 24 hours later, the daily pain complaints for months just ceased. It was just amazing. And I'm not advocating medication for anxiety, but it's just clear that for me, it was just clear to witness the power of the anxiety laid over her system. That's all. Yeah. You had some other examples that you had heard about, situations of pain. Yeah.
Yeah. Hey, there's quite a famous story of a builder in London actually who fell off a really high scaffolding, and he landed directly on top of like a big masonry nail, which went right through his boot. And he was like screaming in pain, and they got an ambulance and got him gas and air and took him to casualty or emergency room or whatever you call it in America. And they gently cut the boot off And once they got the boot off, they saw that the nail had actually gone right between his two toes. So it hadn't actually touched his foot at all. So that was one example. And then there's lots of other examples of people being in like a life-threatening circumstances where maybe they've been in a car wreck and they've broken both their arms, but they're still able to somehow lift the car off somebody or get their child out of the car without feeling any pain. So it just is amazing how the mind and the body work together in those situations. And I think the pain neuroscience is saying that all pain is created in the brain, not in the body part. And I know that's hard to get your head round, but for example, there's a thing called phantom limb pain, where someone has had a limb amputated and they are feeling pain in that limb, even though the limb isn't even there. So that is another example of how it's the brain that is producing the pain, not the body part. So yeah, that's just some of the other stories.
I remember working with people, amputees, who had phantom pain, and it was wild. Like, I don't know how I got the idea, but I put them on a bicycle where only one leg was cycling around, but just the movement.
Mm.
Well, I could say just the movement, or just their attention on something other than the limb, and they would have like immediate the phantom limb pain would go away. Interesting. Yeah. I had someone send me an email she said, I would really benefit from this webinar, but I can't be there. I've been back to aching all over my body. I can see that I'm focusing on this. I managed to get to my exercise class and forget about it. And I just want to say, when you listen to this, like, as soon as I read this, like, your answer is in the statement, and it's like when you're feeling your body aches, your attention is there. And when you're in your Zumba class, your attention is there. And it is that simple. And I totally get it, because when I have symptoms, like, my attention is full on there. And remembering that we have what we need in the moment, that shifts our attention. So, like, doing something to distract from discomfort, for me, is very short-lived. Very short-lived. But doing what I need in the moment seems to last longer. Knowing that my body is doing what it needs to do in the moment is really helpful. What else do you want to say about that? Welcome to the new people who have joined. Jules, what else do you want to say about that?
It just reminds me again of there's a term called a medical student disease. And it's when medical students are learning about a particular illness or disease, an abnormally high percentage of those students start to present with corresponding symptoms of the disease they're studying. And could it be that when all they're thinking about is the disease, that they develop that sort of disease mindset? And I think this illustrates how when we are thinking about our pain or our sensations in our body, that, we develop that sort of pain mindset, and it perpetuates our pain. So yeah, it's where your thoughts are focusing. Like I remember once I took the top off my finger using like a vegetable spiralizer. And it was really, really stingy, and I couldn't get the bleeding to stop. And I put all these plasters on it and got it to stop. And that evening I had to take the dogs for a walk, and I was out taking them around the lake. And every time I put my hand down by my side, my finger was just throbbing and throbbing. And at one point, as I was walking around this lake, there was two swans came into land, and all I could hear were the like flapping wings. And I just looked around, and it was a beautiful scene, you know, just with these two swans going across the lake and then landing in the water. And I realized as soon as I started to walk again that I thought, oh, I didn't feel my finger there at all. So it was just another example of how where our attention is placed is you know, going to add to what we're the sensation and the pain that we're feeling.
Yeah, and what's occurring to me now is that just because the sensation is created in the mind doesn't mean there's anything wrong with our mind.
Mm.
Like I think that's kind of an old paradigm of psychology, that if it's in your head, then there's something wrong with you, right? But what we're really appreciating about this is that that's how it works. We feel where our attention is focused. That's all. And it's supposed to work that way. And it always works that way. We get immediate feedback of where our attention is. And seeing that as a normal occurrence. Like, I've heard that. I've said that to probably each one of you I've had a conversation with about it. But knowing it beyond an idea, I had experience over the weekend where I had some pretty intense symptoms coming on, and instead of my habitual, what did I eat, what did I drink, how much sleep did I get, how much activity, you know, where's the pressure and the stress coming from, which was my habit before. It was just like, oh, I just dropped into this knowing, like my body's doing exactly what it needs in the moment. And it grabs my attention. But if I just sit back and focus, and not focus, but remember that my body's just doing what it needs to do in the moment, like my whole experience that day changed. Now, I don't know if that's going to always be like that, but it was really dramatic to be, my body's doing exactly what it needs in the moment. And when I had some autoimmune thing that my heart rate was going high at times that it should be going low, or my blood pressure was doing the opposite of what it should, like I had this awareness, like, what if my body is just doing what it needs to do right now? Then all the added kind of discomfort on top of it was relieved. Hey, puppy.
Sorry, something's
No, it's
looking at
fine.
Yeah, it's like our bodies are never working against us. They're always working for us, even though sometimes might not feel like it.
Yeah. So we're open to questions, comments, stories. And if you want to share anything and you don't want your voice in the room, you can just put a private message, either Jules or I, and we'll just read it without your name. But I know each one of you has really meaningful, powerful stories of yourself or others. That we'd really love to hear. Yeah, just jump on in.
Hey, Ellen. Hi, Julie. Thank you so much. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow. So much of what you said today landed. I've always been one that ever since I was little, someone would tell me that something was wrong with them and I'd feel it in my body. And it was exhausting, you know, exhausting. And till this day, I'm 60 years old. I can still have it happen. And to the point of I've had a full hysterectomy, cleaned house, no supplemental estrogen, and I'm with someone who has their period and I will spot. And it's like, how does that even happen? How does that even happen? But, you know, the understanding of it makes it less scary. You know, when, and it was the perfect example this week. I had a beautiful opportunity where they finally, after 3.5 years, figured out why my muscles are so weak after COVID and after sepsis and other things. And it's a simple supplement to take to block a protein that's attacking my central nervous system right now. And there was such immense hope that came from this, and not hope that I felt anywhere along these 3.5 years. But what was so beautiful was for 5 days straight, I had almost double the muscle strength that I've had in 3.5 years. And then hit a healing. And the body started detoxing, and it was like, oh, what happened? And significantly less pain in that time period too. But at first the dip was like really scary, you know, and it was like, oh no, here we go again. You know, I got a little bit of relief, and the mind just started to go into story. And then I realized, what if this is the healing? What if this is doing exactly what my body needs to do to clear out some of the damage, to clear out new pathways, to allow my system to function better? And then the guidance was just stop it for a couple of days and let your system rest a little bit. Sure enough, peace came back into my body, well-being came back. Woke up this morning, was like, all right, time to take another one. And it wasn't from, should I take it? Should I take it? The little committee going into like session going, oh, I don't know what to do. It just was a knowing that, yeah, you had 2 days off, start another one. And today's been a good day and a blessed day. And I see when I take the pressure off myself, number one, to figure out how to get better. Whew, that's an enormous weight. Number two, to dictate how fast I'm supposed to be getting better. Another huge mental burden to carry. And then listening to the outside people who love me so much, who want me to get better so much, and watching them go through their process of me getting better, having another healing crisis, getting better, you know, that combination of those, to realize that I have that same power undergirding us regardless of the symptoms, the presentation, what's happening in the moment. That there's never been a moment, no matter how hard this has been, where I haven't been held by grace, where I haven't had exactly what I needed in the moment. And that same thing is true for my loved ones too. And it doesn't have to look pretty, and it doesn't have to look how I want it to look. But on like the roller coaster of up and downs, I'm always safe. Even when it doesn't feel like it. But I'm always safe in that moment. And when I come back to that, and sometimes I realize it very fast, and sometimes it takes a little while, but there's always peace underneath the symptoms. There's always innate well-being inside of me, regardless of the external. And there's always wisdom if action needs to be taken. So love what you guys shared. I would love you to talk a little bit more, Julie, about the past traumatic neurocircuitry. That was fascinating because when I'm triggered, I physically can feel it in my body where that pain was. So I would love to hear a little bit more about that.
Yeah, I guess the quote that comes to my mind right now is a Sydney Banks quote. It's a jammed thought system must create an imperfect reality. So I guess the more we get caught up in that fearful, anxious thinking, it creates that imperfect reality for us. And yeah, I guess just the neurocircuitry that's created in our brain after an injury, if we are in pain for a long period of time, that neurocircuitry becomes like a superhighway in our brain. So it's very easily triggered by, fearful or anxious thoughts. And that just reproduces our pain. So yeah, I guess I can't think of anything else to add to that. Have you, Ellen?
Well, I think there's some beliefs or understandings that it's important to get to the root cause, the trigger. And what I really appreciate from the way I see it now and my understanding of these teachings is that, and my experience is just, oh, there's pressure on the system, there's a trigger on the system, and that's all I need to know. Like there's something so relieving in that. And when I've had that happen and I go to, and I remember that in the moment, like, oh, there's pressure on the system, and the infinite contributing factors are not important for me to know. Like that is such a relief. Like, oh, I don't, have to figure this one out. And how natural and human it is to want to figure it out. Well, if I just get to the issue, then fill in the blank. This won't happen again. And it doesn't look like that to me. It just doesn't look like that to me. And I'm not saying that that's not helpful for other people, but I love the simplicity that it doesn't look like that to me.
That's such a gorgeous way. Just there's pressure on the system, and I know sometimes for me, just even the awareness of, this is just thought in the moment, this is right now, what's coming up, an insight will arise, even like what it was, and then it's like, whew, rather than what do I do, how do I figure it out, how do I get over this, how do I process this, but it just arises. And if I can just like embrace it with love and understanding in that moment, embrace myself with love and understanding in that moment, it passes through just like the wind, and but
We're
I
gonna
love
do-
that
Yeah,
pressure.
we're gonna do a little, we're gonna play with that right now.
Awesome.
Yeah. So I don't know about you, but it takes me a nanosecond to feel discomfort, anxiety, upset, pressure. Like it just, I can bring it here any moment. So let's just close our eyelids if you're comfortable doing that, and just, just elicit a little bit of discomfort from any place that is familiar to you. And notice where in your body that discomfort is. And put your hand on that space. And really feel the sensation that's beneath your hand. Just feel the sensation. And we want to go back and do something else, but just feel the sensation. And if the sensation was like directing you somewhere, saying, come along with me, where would it be guiding you? And what perpetuates the sensation? Or what perpetuates where the sensation wanted you to go? Just notice that. And I know that was just really brief, but I'm really curious what your experience was. What happened? And as many of you as can share, I think it would be powerful for everyone to know that we all have different experiences. Who wants to go first? Just speak into the room. Calm. Yes. Yes. Calm. Isn't that beautiful? Discomfort wants calm. Like I just always, discomfort is always saying, come on home where it's calm and quiet. Because when we focus, like this idea, this understanding that when I focus on the sensation, the thought that created the sensation goes by. Like that's wild to me. Love that. Love. Yes, it brings me right back into my heart too. The feeling of love, calm. Like to me, it's kind of all the same. Yours said go to bed. Yes, rest. Yes, it's kind of the similar guidance. Go to bed, rest, down-regulate the nervous system. Now I'm aware everyone doesn't have that, but did anyone have an experience that wasn't in that direction? And are you willing to share, and even privately with either Jules or me? We won't say your name.
I can share, Ellen. So I kind of zoned out a little bit, but when the sensation was initially like in my belly area, and it felt like an anxiousness, and it was interesting because I felt like I had to, in order to be with it, I had to like not breathe, because I felt like the and I started breathing, the sensation would go away.
Mm.
And so I just really kind of just kept my breathing really shallow, just so that I could be with this experience and feel what it was to feel it. And then when you ask the question about where does it want to go, I just felt like and saw like this energy traveling up to my heart, and it like it wanted to be there.
That's beautiful. And I'm so glad you shared, Sarah, because anxiety and breath are like completely connected.
Yeah.
We
Yeah.
can't, anxiety doesn't exist in a slow, calm breath. It doesn't. And so immediately your body was like, let's breathe, because that will shift the anxiety. Like,
Right.
right?
Yeah. 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 And it felt
Cool. Like
weird.
yeah, go ahead.
Well, no, I just was saying it felt weird to try to control it. I mean, it was just obviously for this activity, but I was like, oh, don't breathe, don't breathe.
Yeah. But the next time we feel that anxious feeling and we get like, oh, I need to breathe, like that's the wisdom of the body right there.
Yeah. So good.
And I want to hear what you have to say, Jules, but I just want to say one more thing, is that it's really compelling for the mind to keep feeding the discomfort or the anxiety or the pain. And it happens, and I really mean this, so naturally, so habitually. And it's so convincing that there's something wrong with us if we don't feel the calm and peace. But that's not it. It's just we have a habit of feeding it. What do you have to say, Jules? And I have another example.
Yeah, I just think the habit of feeding it keeps us in the stress response, keeps our body in the stress response, and that, you know, will increase anxiety, decrease mood, and cause physical symptoms.
Yeah, totally.
So when we were doing the exercise, I felt like a real fist of tightness sort of in my upper abdomen. And when I put my hand on it and asked where it wanted to go, it just wanted to let go. It wanted to like soften
Yeah.
and just let go. So I
Yeah.
think another thing that I love is the saying, with awareness comes choice. So if we realize we're holding tension and tightness in different parts of our body, because we all do it, we all brace when we're anxious and fearful or upset. And if you're aware that you're bracing in your body, you have the choice to let go and to soften. And I think that just brings that peace and calm and well-being.
Yeah. And it reminds me that I've been developing like a sensitivity to the tension, so that I don't need the massive intense symptoms, or I don't have to rush and get everything done because I'm having an episode of something. It's like, oh, just take a moment now. Another time you might want to play with the idea of like imagining the most peaceful, blissful place or space or can imagine, and see what it's like see how long it lasts. If you don't, well, let's just do it. Yeah. So take yourself to the most peaceful, blissful place or space or can imagine. And it's immediately gone if you don't continue thinking about it, right? Did anyone else notice that? Like it doesn't stay around. Like in order for me to feel it, I'd like have to bring in all the sensations, the smells, the sounds, the feeling, the colors. That's what keeps it going. Anyone have a different experience than that? I'm really curious. And I think it's pretty amazing that the personal mind is so habituated to feeding what we don't want and not feeding more of what we do want. But that's for all of us. No one has a special case of it. What other questions or stories to share? I promise I won't pick on anyone. I'm really good at doing that, but I won't. I wanted to say something about the one mind. Here's the two of us. We know what the three principles are, but the one mind, like I just see mind, source, divine intelligence as the source of healing, as the source of experience. And when we're looking through the personal mind, we see one thing, and we're looking through divine mind, eyes of divine mind, we see something else. But I just know, I don't know how I know, but I just have known for so long that mind is the source of physical healing. It doesn't make sense to me that there's anything other than that allows someone to live for many years with a terminal illness and someone to live many days. What's present for you, Jules?
I think it's just lovely. I've just enjoyed doing those little exercises with you.
Maybe we put everyone in such a calm state.
Yeah.
What looks like urgent questions no longer does. Just because we're the creator of experience, it doesn't mean that we're not supposed to, that there's something wrong with us if we create experiences we don't like.
one thing that comes to mind for me, Ellen, is that the harder we try to get rid of our pain, the more we reinforce that it's dangerous. And that just keeps perpetuating the cycle, you know, of putting our body into fight or flight, and just perpetuates the pain. So, but I know it's easier said than done. You know, I did that when I was in my low back pain and sciatica episode. I was just determined to fix it. And I know I totally overtreated myself. I went for regular treatment twice a week, plus I was doing lots of stuff on myself, and I just was totally perpetuating my pain. I think I told,
that's where the innocence comes in, Jules.
yeah, I think I told the story on the first webinar, but in case there's anybody new listening, I got stuck in that cycle for like 16 weeks. And then I remember just reading a poem on Facebook. I can't even remember what the poem was or what it said, but I just remember thinking, oh my goodness, I need to like let go. I just need to detach from the outcome. I'm going to be okay. Even if I need surgery, even if I don't get back to work, I'm going to be okay. And the next day I woke up and had no pain. You know, now I have had episodes since, and I know when I get stressed about something or get really over busy, my back is the place where I feel it. So again, that's my body just reaching out to me to tell me that I'm too busy, I've too much thinking, I'm overcommitted, I'm overstimulated, and I just need to step back.
Mm-hmm. And it's working perfectly to do that.
Yeah.
Like that's what I keep on being reminded. It's working perfectly to do that. And just because that's the way it works doesn't mean that we're immune to symptoms. Because it doesn't work that way. Understanding isn't the cure.
Yeah.
It sounds like it though. Like when I hear people's stories, it sounds like it. But it just doesn't make sense to me that it is.
Yeah, like we're all human. We all absolutely get caught up in our thoughts and our thinking, and but it's amazing that our bodies are so wise and they are working for us, that they can send us those warning signs.
Sometimes they're louder and sometimes they're softer. Oh well, it doesn't mean anything. The other thing is like pain itself puts us in fight or flight. Like you don't even have to, you just the pain, just the pain, just the tension on the system puts us in fight or flight. So that we can do crazy things like, walk on a broken leg to get someone out of a, car that's on fire, or urgent things.
Yeah, the two things just come to mind. When I did my Quiet Mind, Quiet Body program in person, I had a small group of ladies, and two of the things they said they found the most useful were the fact that they're sore, but they know they're safe.
Mm.
Sore but safe. And the other one was that they're not broken. You know, that you're never broken.
And so people are going to be able to have an opportunity to participate in a virtual program with you. When does that start?
Yeah, it starts October 10th.
And
So it's
coming-
it's 6 weeks. There's 3 weeks from the 10th of October, and then there's a 2-week break, and then 3 weeks in November. So it's when I did it in person, there was a few people contacted me to say they would love to have done it, but they were in other countries. So I thought I would brave the world of online and offer it online. So yeah.
You're going to share more neuroscience in there.
Yes. Yeah, it's I will be talking about the power of thought and the inside out understanding, innate health and well-being, pain neuroscience, and living without suffering, sort of for the main topics.
Cool. When we post this, we'll post the link to that, if in case you haven't seen the beautiful images and writings and stories that Jules has shared about that.
Oh, sorry, it's my dog.
It's fine. It's fine.
Yeah.
And a week from today, I'm going to be taking a group of people on through Mavis Carnes' It's That Simple program. The book's not required. Someone in the group will read one of the beautiful letters, and we'll just, whoever wants to share what they hear in what they hear from that letter, what's new and fresh for them. So I'm really looking forward to that, and I'm going to be doing it in 2 different time zones, so everyone around the planet is covered.
But let her out just.
Yeah, please. But any other comments or questions for us here today? I just keep on hearing there's nothing wrong with us when we experience pain or symptoms. The system isn't broken. It's working. And it's got some familiar roads and highways, as Jules described, that take us away before we're aware.
I love that so much. And, you know, when both of you were speaking before about, you know, even though we are the creator of this, if we understand it, we still have things that pop up because we're human. And it reminds me of, you can understand gravity and you drop your glass, it's going to break. You know, that the understanding of it does not necessitate or does not eliminate the human experience. You know, that there is a beautiful understanding here that can bring so much peace, and many times that could lead to more healing. But by design, these bodies are not meant to continuously move without pauses, without rest stops, without dips and dives along the journey. You know, same with our emotions. You know, they come, they go. And I think for me, the principles have been so beautiful in explaining and understanding and honoring the fullness of the human experience. And there's great beauty in that. Yeah. Thanks, both of you, so much. It was lovely.
Thank you so much for your contribution, and all of you for your presence here. I'm sure you all know how to get a hold of us, but if not, let us know. Yeah. So, and we're also, each one of us we're both available to continue the conversation or answer any questions privately, because we know sometimes it's just hard to do it publicly. Thank you so much. Any final words? Yeah, go ahead, Suzanne.
Yeah, thank you. I would also like to add that for me, patience with myself, patience with the process of being human and having all these different experiences, it's so important for me, because I live with pain in my body and I live with bliss in my body. And being patient and allowing everything is what I'm beginning to feel. It goes hand in hand more and more often. So yes, being patient. That's just what I wanted to add.
That's beautiful and so meaningful. And I'm sure as a physio yourself, you probably have a little bit of patience with your patients.
I have a lot of patience with my patients.
Yeah.
But it has always been so difficult to have it with myself. But now I see that understanding both being human and being a spirit all at once, that is the issue, and that is the gift.
Yes.
Mm.
Yes, that is the gift. The whole human experience.
Yeah, so thank you for tonight. It has been so lovely listening to both of you and the others. It's a bit difficult for me because it's not my native language, but well, I understand everything you say, but it's a bit more difficult to explain what's going on inside me.
I can feel it.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Blessings to everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye, Suzanne.
Or are we finishing now? Or yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Bye.
Bye-bye.